Greetings and welcome to Fort Fritz episode 20. I'm your host Fritz, always joined by co-host Mandaddy.
Hi.
Nick Spry.
Hello.
Angela.
Ciao.
And Kaz.
Hello.
Word to the wise, we will try to scare you and we will maybe invent some stories and also embellish on some well-known folklore. So if you think that's going to be too frightening for you, it's okay. We'll catch you on a mini-sode or maybe later down the road when we're not too scary. And also, word to the wise, that will never happen.
Boo!
So you listen at your own peril. Welcome to Fort Fritz. How you doing, guys? I don't know if you've ever been anywhere in this house alone like I have sometimes before you guys show up.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, never. But there are doorways that you will find yourself in that you can never come back to. And I'm glad that as you can see, I've door jammed all of the hallways leading in. It's a crooked letter, humpback.
Door jam's a noun, not a verb.
Well, I did that too.
Can jam the door.
The hell out of that noun.
But a door jam is
You verb that noun. Verb that noun.
But as you can see, there is a portion of the house now that we have never been to. Usually all of our secret passages move to what direction?
To the left.
To the left. And now this one, you can see the first one is what?
To the right.
To the right. And then the second one?
To the right.
Yeah, and then the third one?
To the left.
Yeah, and then it keeps going left.
Left after that?
Yeah.
Well, that's something.
It's
a start.
We're now in this like cyclone underneath the main floor, and I don't know, I didn't want to proceed because I wanted you guys to come over and kind of help me out with this, so please help me out with this thing because this room looks very dark, and I'm a little frightened by it. I don't know where it has led to and where it leads to.
Well, did you do one of those things where you like kind of stick the front half of your body in and reach along the wall for the light switch?
You do it like something like a strange bathroom or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I did, but go ahead and try it. See what you feel.
Let me do that
Usually
now.
There's like a switch in there somewhere, right?
He's flailing around. You
not a
really
funny
getting
one,
anything there?
There's something here. What?
Yeah. What is it? Flip the switch.
All right.
Touch it, feel it.
Oh, hey, guys.
Hey.
This is totally an arcade.
Nice!
Oh, shit.
This is awesome!
See, I had never felt that thing before. I didn't know it was a switch.
You know it's a legit arcade because they have the Simpsons stand-up over there in the back.
That's a good one.
That's the hallmark of a real
They have original
arcade.
narc.
Uncensored. Oh, they got a sit-down Arkanoid. That's fucking awesome.
Wow,
Dude.
that's
love that.
awesome.
What's our quarter situation?
Ooh, wait. They got a change machine. Right over here. Awesome.
And in the far right corner, I kind of scoped out the Revolution arcade by Aerosmith. Remember that?
Revolution X. Revolution X.
94.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a throwback.
Revolution X. Yep.
A lot of classic stuff going on in here.
That's like the
rad.
deep cut of stand-up video games.
Yeah.
Revolution X, where you can shoot the CDs?
Yeah.
Such a deep
Bonus
cut.
points.
I don't like any of this.
Oh.
Why is that?
I only play Nintendo 64 Mario Kart. That's
Okay.
it.
Oh,
Well,
that's fair.
fucking
Actually,
And
look over there. They got
hockey, but it's broken.
They got a little TV set up over there. I wonder if there's maybe a 64 hooked up to that. Maybe we can check that out.
Did you guys see this arcade game in the corner?
This one that's like gunmetal black and like a matte finish on it that it doesn't have any
There's no
sort of
name on
stickers
it.
on
No
it.
one's
or
ever
anything.
played
It's
that.
the only one that hasn't lit up.
No, don't touch that. Don't touch that.
Why not?
Go ahead and plug it in. Play it. Do it up.
Oh, no. Every time she gets like that.
This is a bad idea.
Touch that joystick.
Every time she gets like what,
Wait,
Kaz?
say it again.
Every time she gets like all, like.
Isolate that. We'll
Put
sell
it
that.
in the slot.
Push it in.
And downloads for this episode just went through the roof.
Press that red button.
So you got all weird about the game.
Yeah,
and
I'm a little scared.
Now I know why Fritz is being mean to you because you're just acting like a nerd right now. Like I'm ready to pull your pants down. Like tell me what's going on with this game. Or
Why can't we plug it in?
Well, look, have you ever heard of the video game Polybius?
No, I haven't.
No.
Sounds fun.
Sounds like a
Yeah, it
It's like a
sounds
weird
fun.
mushroom or something.
It sounds.
How do you spell it? P-O-L-I?
Polybius.
Polybius.
Is it like Mobius?
This is not a game that to be, shall we say, toyed with. This game
Ooh, I like that.
isn't a game.
Well, what is it then?
Well, let me tell you a story. In 1981, in a few Portland, Oregon game rooms, a new and strange game appeared without any fanfare. The game was called Polybius. And it was just basically a black cabinet like this one with Polybius, one controller, and that's it. And it seems that the game was an instant success. Almost immediately, lines began to form around it. But things seemed a little different. Players started playing almost obsessively, playing for hours on end, and some players even getting in fights for their turn at the game.
Okay, so this was a single-player game?
Yes.
But it was an arcade game, so obviously you would have people...
Waiting
Like
in
when you
line
put
and
your
watching.
quarter up,
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, that style of game.
Or like the person right back behind that player going, "You suck. You're gonna die. You suck.
Right, you definitely turn around and hit that dude. Like,
I'm not gonna let you continue. You suck."
Yeah.
Like a backhand.
And then you just
yeah.
punch that 12-year-old right in the face. Now, things started taking even a darker turn. Players began to feel nausea, tremors, amnesia, and some even started experiencing night terrors.
This all sounds like
Jeez.
standard gamer shit at this point. Like, this is like
this
kids
is
just
what
walked
happens.
in on like Counter-Strike and stuff.
No, this kind of sounds like
Or
when
like
they
WoW.
had that Japanese TV show that would have those like red flashing screens and give all
Pokemon.
those people seizures.
That was Pokemon. That was,
Are you serious?
that was the original Pokemon.
What?
Yep, that's
Wow.
when they had the original Pokemon, they had to ban it for a while because the flashing lights of the transformations caused people to go into seizures.
Oh,
That
man.
any epilepsy.
Early epilepsy stuff.
Yep. A lot of fun. So just, hey, if you got kids, just put them in front of Pokemon and wait a little bit. And, that's
the
diagnosis.
That's how you know.
test.
That's the test. That's the test. Just give them 5 minutes on that and you're good.
As host of this podcast, let me just say, do not do that if you have small children. All right, the
How do they
lawyer
know?
immediately called me on that one.
But still with this game, even though people were experiencing these extreme side effects, they reportedly couldn't stop playing. Now, no one is sure where these games came from or what their true purpose was. Even though one player reportedly tried to commit suicide
Jesus.
because of the constant night terrors he was getting from this game.
Okay.
But still, no one just, they just let it play. Hey, still making a lot of money. But there were multiple reports of sightings of, wait for it, men in black servicing the machines.
Oh, shit.
Witnesses say that they appeared to be extracting data from the machines and making slight changes to the circuitry. But one thing they never touched were the quarters. They seemed uninterested in the money the games made. And so they were always there and never take out the quarters. And of course, the game shop owner would just take the corners, but was never servicing the machine, never did anything else to it. Just opened up the front, took the quarters out, closed it up.
Are there any accounts of what the actual gameplay, like what was the story of this game?
That's the thing. There's a lot of different reports. Some people say that it was a puzzle sort of game. Some people say it was more of a quick shooter sort of game. One of the things they agree on is that it had the graphics were far beyond anything at that time. That it used a combination of vector and raster graphics,
This
which you
was
can't really do in
81, you said?
81.
Wow.
Yeah, you can't do. I think now to do vector and raster graphics would be near impossible because of they use a different sort of screen.
Well, it's also different engines, like
yeah.
graphics engines.
Oh, but with vector and raster, a vector game is something like, if you remember Tempest, where it's just lines, where that's vector graphics.
Kind of like
is
Asteroid, where you just shoot
right,
the
that's
thing with
vector
a little
graphics
triangle.
is lines. Raster is pixels. And so it was a combination of those two, which at the time wasn't really a possibility. Some have speculated that it was part of a government black ops experiment similar to MK Ultra.
Yeah.
That was either testing people's abilities for possible recruitment or testing people's limits to see how much stimulus the human brain can handle.
That's exactly what I thought, dude. Last Starfighter.
Last Starfighter,
Actually,
I love that movie.
And that's exactly
that's a
where
good
the
one.
movie got its impetus from, is from the story.
No.
Dude,
Really?
The Last
Way.
Starfighter is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
As like a kid who played video games, that was just
It was the
like
best.
it was fantastic.
It was
It
the
was
best.
just like, oh man.
You're like, come on, let this happen.
Right.
But then you get anything about the game I was playing, like something like Robotron. Probably don't want that to happen.
Yeah,
But
Robotron was
surrounded-
just like a post-apocalyptic nightmare of like having to kill over and over and over again for like
And just- and then you
99
just-
levels, and then
there's
you
just
start
more of them
over
and
again.
more of them and more of them and more of them.
I played Pole Position.
All right, so you were like an Italian like racer,
Yeah, that's
like
me at the age of 4.
Claudio.
I was 25. Now, there have been various theories about the origins of Polybius. In 2006, on a coinop.org comment section, and everything good comes from comment sections, a man named Stephen Roach said that he was a part of its creation, and he said he worked for a company called Sinneslöschen, but was commissioned by a South American company to do the work. But they soon found out that they were in over their heads with the advanced tech that they were working on. Now, the word Sinneslöschen is a quasi-German word loosely meaning sense delete or sensory deprivation.
Nice.
Some say it sounds like a German word made up by someone who doesn't know how to speak German.
Yep.
Just that's not the way the words would be put together.
Sense deletion. What?
Was that German? I thought he was speaking in German. That was absolutely amazing. I thought we had a German guy in the room. Fritz, I get it now.
I know a couple words.
Now, Roach's accounts have been largely brushed off. However, there was, in fact, a man named Stephen Roach who worked within a Mexican company that was working on behavior modification and possibly brainwashing, and it ended up getting shut down by the government, and reportedly Stephen and his wife are still on the run to this day.
No shit.
So, is there maybe some, truth to this? Now, there's a lot of questions on whether the game even ever existed. You can find a number of games on the internet that claim to recreate the gameplay of Polybius, but none of them seem to completely agree on all the elements of the game. But either way, you can never be quite sure what you're getting into when you're playing a mysterious video game that appears one day at your local game room, like this black shut-off cabinet right here that for some reason Angela thinks would be a keen idea for us to turn on.
Do you really consider this like a local game room?
No, I don't.
I live like 2 hours from here.
It's not local to me at all.
He's supposed to live here, and you do live here, so it's as local as fuck to you.
As
That's
a
why I said no.
relative.
Yeah, that's why I said no. It's very local to me.
You and your agreements and disagreements about space and time.
Well,
I will just say this, okay? I want to plug it in, and do you guys have an issue with that? Is that cool?
I'm going to stand back. I'm going to stand back.
I'm kind of freaked out now a little bit. Just
I'm going to shield my eyes.
Angela, if you don't mind, I want you to play it first. Is that cool?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
Okay, now I'm all about it. Plug that fucker in.
Here we go. I'm plugging it in. Yowza.
It's smoking. It's smoking.
Oh, that's
There's
not good.
smoke shooting out of the side of it.
Is this thing
Fritz,
gas-powered?
Fritz, do you have any quarters?
Yeah. Quarters mostly quarters.
That's weird.
Here you go. Go ahead and put it in.
There we go.
That made a deep clunk sound, but it sounded like there's a lot of money in this machine.
It sounds like it's been played before.
Okay, go ahead and put the other one in there.
50 cents for this
Wow.
thing? It's not even marked. What the fuck?
What type of highfalutin game room is this?
It's 2017, man.
I guess.
Inflation.
Inflation.
Oh, wow.
All right.
God, these graphics are very sharp.
Not bad.
Yeah.
All right, so pick triangle or star shape. All right.
Star shape.
I guess
Star
star
shape.
shape.
Start. Let's go start.
Let's go
Here we
star
go,
shape.
here we go, here we go.
Points.
And T-Rex.
Wait,
Again.
what?
Yep.
the
There it
hell
is.
is
There it
T-Rex is
Gotta watch out, gotta watch
immediately.
out. Oh, damn it.
We hit his nose. We died.
Yep, dead.
What the
All right.
what?
All right.
What is
Next.
What's going on with T-Rex noses and
Fritz,
their
give me another 50
vulnerability?
cents.
I have
50
no
cents.
idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
game over already.
Give us a
All
quarter.
right,
Wow.
come on.
Wow.
All right. Triangle this time.
Yes, please do triangle.
Okay. Velociraptor.
Oh my God, it's a velociraptor.
Look at that.
Yes.
What is it doing with? Why do we have eggs?
Oh, it ate the
We have a 6-pack of eggs that
This is
are
like
now eaten.
supermarket sweep, but like a
Oh, no,
video
I
game.
can't make the omelet.
It's a velociraptor, but it's
Wait.
an oviraptor. I don't get it.
What?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. I just gave you $1 in quarters.
Give me another dollar,
No, I'm
man.
not going to give you another $1,
You're right. I
Angela.
want to see what
I
this goes. Here's
give it
50
$1.
cents. Here's 50
Honestly,
cents.
I just want to know what the fucking name of this game
Yeah,
is.
I'm
Like,
really
this thing is
confused by
weird.
this.
Don't worry about it.
You haven't lasted
about it.
very long with the dollar that I've given you, but you have racked up the highest score so far, so obviously you've played this game before, correct?
Yeah, shut up. There's spoons coming at me.
Okay,
Whoa.
all right, what is this?
like
And
hectic.
you have a torch you're trying to heat up the spoons, I see.
Yeah, no,
What-
get that Liberace candelabra.
Got it.
Get it,
Yes,
get it.
yeah. Thank
It's a
you,
very
thank you,
unique
thank you.
game.
Got it.
What is this game called,
Shut
Angela?
up, it's a rainbow.
I'm really into this.
Shut up.
No, what is
Shut
the
up, it's
name of
Deadly
this
Rainbow.
fucking game?
It's Fritz the Butcher. Now shut up.
That's not good. That doesn't sound good.
Of course it's not good. I went right to the rainbow. Thanks, guys.
You
Thanks.
killed yourself.
Fritz, give me
You're
another 50
welcome.
cents, man.
All right, here's another 50. Let's
getting obsessed.
Let's
Really,
wrap this up.
really hooked on this game.
by the name.
Velociraptor.
Fritz the Butcher. The Butcher. Fritz the Butcher. As in, dude over there.
Well, I mean, I can obviously see why you guys have some concern, but we need to take a little break, and then let's go into Fritz the Butcher,
Yeah,
all right?
we need to take a little break.
There we go. You are listening to Fort
Son of a
Fritz.
bitch, I'm dead again. Give me a fistful of quarters. Damn it.
Alrighty, welcome back to Fort Fritz. I am co-host Man Daddy. Of course, we always have Fritz,
Yeah.
Nick Spry,
Hey.
Angela,
Hello.
and of course, Kaz. Now, we just found a scary video game that Angela seems to be kind of good
Really
at
good
it.
at it.
Even though
Really
she
good.
dies really quickly but gets really high points.
Yeah, she's broken the high score 3 times now.
It's
And
an odd scoring system in this.
Now
game.
we got meatballs.
there's
See?
been eggs, there's been meatballs, there's been velociraptors
Wait.
and T-Rexes that die if you bop them on the nose.
Boop them. You gotta boop them.
You have to boop them. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If you bop them, you're fucking dead right off the bat.
Ah, I died again.
Anyway,
Died again.
the fact of the matter is the name of this game is Fritz the Butcher.
Pretty cool.
That's
As in this Fritz guy that we all thought we knew, and there's been some issue in his past timelines that we're not sure of his ancestry with this Felix guy that owns this haunted mansion, or the fact that this might be a doppelganger that we're not even sure. Now there's a video game called Fritz the Butcher.
Yeah, and you know what I think is cool is like he's got the little curly mustache and the glasses and the afro like Felix Fritz had from all of these portraits that are hanging
Felix
around
Fritz?
this arcade. Yeah,
Felix Fritz. Fritz
so
Felix.
like really like it's kind of pretty much Felix
in a video game.
in a video game.
He
But
definitely
why is it
has
called
some-
Fritz?
Well, our last name Dewey.
Well, so I would also be hesitant if I was like if you were standing in front of a arcade machine that said "Man Daddy, the Psycho Killer." Like you probably wouldn't necessarily jump straight to admitting you were Man Daddy.
No, but I would totally play a game called Man Daddy the Psycho Killer.
Man Daddy the Psycho Killer.
I would promote that game.
Someone should totally make that game.
Yes.
Come on, people, get to work.
So the combination of the name of this game and the fact that there are these weird like a lot of it seems to be based on like meat consumption, like meatballs, and you're killing these dinosaurs and like
yeah, it's weird.
I could really
but he's
go
the
for some
butcher. I
dinosaur.
guess it makes sense. But this is honestly like this to me has definite shades of Fritz Haarmann. Have you guys ever heard of Fritz Haarmann?
I have not. No.
No.
Angela, what is that you're collecting in the video game?
I'm getting pork and bone saws.
Pork and bone saws as the bonus.
You're saying pork like it's got air quotes around it.
Yeah.
That's
pork.
unsettling.
This is eerily similar, guys. I don't like this.
What?
I gotta
Meat
know
clovers.
about this.
Are you okay, Kaz?
No, because
You need a hug. You need
Yes.
a hug. Come here, big guy.
Do not
this
hug.
is just,
Okay,
it
well,
always
now you're
feels
hugging him.
right.
It does.
It always just feels right.
You guys are hugging
We have
again?
to have that perfect like hug,
Like South America
locked
fits
in.
right into Africa just
Exactly.
perfectly.
Kaz, I
Pulls
would
apart,
be
he goes,
remiss. I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that Man Daddy is going to try to stab you in the back right now. He has the dagger in his hand.
What?
Whoa!
Dude,
All right, now
so
he's putting
uncool.
it in his back pocket.
So uncool.
Did anyone else see that?
That is not.
You guys don't get humor.
See, this is the problem. He wasn't even playing the game.
No. Look,
CTFO, man.
there's clearly a list of rules on the wall over here, and number 1 is no backstabbing.
No backstabbing.
That's the joke.
That was
Oh, I get it.
See? Okay, thank you.
It's like British humor.
took my trust, and you just threw it on the ground.
Tell us about this game.
You need another hug.
Well, so the game seems to be oddly, I guess, not reminiscent, but has similar themes to the crimes perpetrated by Mr. Fritz Haarmann in Hanover, Germany in the late 1800s, early 1900s. This man, and we're kind of making light of it, but this man, it was extremely, extremely psychotic. He was a murderous fiend in Hanover, Germany during the late 1800s, early 1900s. He was born in 1879 and had, I guess what you would call a rough childhood. He had they were a poor family in Hanover, Germany, and he had a history of petty crimes as well as some pretty dastardly stuff, some pretty awful stuff. He was, I guess, arrested for indecency with small children at a pretty early age.
Oh, no.
And there was a trend that sort of continued throughout his life. His father was sort of a no-nonsense, like a coal miner or something in that area. He was like a blacksmith or one of those like salt of the earth type guys. And he sent Fritz Haarmann to military academy. And he was subsequently released due to apparent epilepsy. He was having epileptic fits.
Oh.
Which I
Was
guess,
he watching Pokemon?
or playing weird fucking arcade games.
Weird late 19th century video games.
Yeah.
Those are the weirdest ones.
Those are the weirdest ones.
It's just like a candle behind like some oil paintings. You just like turn the crank.
It's this glass of port that just doesn't empty. You just gotta keep drinking it. Right?
I like that game. I always win.
There's always a silhouette of a man with a mustache just stooped over going,
I coughed up a rose!
coughing into the video game speaker.
So yeah, he had all that stuff going on. He continued these petty crimes, and also, again, I'm not sure what was going on with the police work in Hanover, Germany at the time, but he continued to get released and picked up on multiple charges of indecency with children and thievery. He was getting into different grifts around town. He was stealing from warehouses and getting in with import-export, like dock workers, to like rip stuff off. His dad eventually gave him ownership of like a fish and chip shop in the area, and he immediately robbed the place blind.
He robbed his own chip shop?
He like just stole all the money that his dad gave him.
There's always money in the chip shop.
I was just about to say that.
Eventually, he went to he joined the army officially in was it 1900?
After all that,
In
they still let
1903.
him in, huh?
So he's like in his early
Well, why
20s.
not?
Right. He joined the army in 1900 and was honorably discharged in 1903. During the time, he had a wife that he left when she was pregnant, and I think that's what started his military career. He ran off to join the army after that happened. So this is not a good guy, right?
Right.
When he gets back, it gets even worse. So he hooks up with a man called Hans Grans.
Okay. Hans Grans.
Hans
I couldn't know what that is.
Hans Grans.
Hans Grans.
Hans Grans.
Hey, speak nothing but good of the dead. All right.
Well, these guys are assholes, so we can get it in a
Yeah,
little
they
bit.
were psychopathic murderers.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, all right.
So
Touche,
Hans
touche.
Grans was a local pimp / ne'er-do-well, kind of just like a shady, like, you know, your neighborhood kind of asshole guy.
Well, if you name your son like Hans Grans, it's what
Hans
it's gonna-
Grans didn't
that's what
have-
it's going to
Yeah.
grow up to be.
He had no choice.
Yeah,
he didn't have
yeah.
like a really good start.
No.
But so when Hans met Fritz, which, you know, sounds like the perfect German love story, they ended up hooking up. They were lovers.
Really?
No connection. No connection. Let me
Well,
just say
you're
that.
saying that,
Yeah.
but let's dig deeper.
Oh God.
So Hans and Fritz began their whirlwind romance late in 1918.
So a little bit later in life, like they're got to be what, late 30s?
Maybe getting like 30.
Late 30s?
Yeah. And obviously Hans was already into doing this sort of shady shit around Hanover, Germany, and Fritz was in. So they basically started I don't want to say murder for hire, but they were profiting from the murder of local wayward youths in the area. Apparently during the time, Hanover was there was a wash of refugees from the war in that area, and there were a lot of refugee camps, homeless boys wandering the street and things like that.
Think about how in Europe, where the refugee crisis is happening, there's got to be some crazy serial killers operating at high volume right now.
Well,
Because,
definitely in Greece right now. Greece has a rampant pedophilia ring going on. Because it's so cheap.
By Hillary Clinton.
So Hans in Hanover,
Hans and Fritz.
Hans and Fritz
In Hanover.
In
Hanover. Thank you. They for I'm gonna say it looks like it was close to about 7 or 8 years. They killed what they ended up admitting to were about 47 victims.
47.
The way
That's quite a count.
the way that they ended up being implicated was that so I guess their MO was to find the bodies, create the bodies.
That's what serial killers do. They create bodies.
Yeah.
They take people.
It's a real
and create
euphemism.
bodies.
That's like synergy.
Yeah.
It's like if you can imagine the flow chart.
If
there are
somebody ever
people-
uses the word synergy around you, they're probably a serial killer.
Did you kill these people? No, I created
I
bodies.
synergized
Yeah.
their energies.
And also, if they use DNA, rubber gloves, or ejaculate around you, they're all fucking serial killers.
Yeah, that sounds pretty.
Unless they're a doctor.
Yes.
Well,
Or
even
describing
doctors-
a hell of a fun weekend.
Unless their name is Dr. Giggles.
Yeah.
Or Dr. Acula.
Stay away from
Or
anyone with like
Banicula.
doctor and then just a word afterwards. Like that's not. You need a last name after the word doctor.
Dr. Daniel Magic Stone.
Yeah, exactly. So again, their MO was to find these boys and lure them with, whatever, a meal or a shelter for the night, and kill them and dismember them. Put the sort of identifying human remains. They threw them in the Leine River, Leine, Leine.
And this is in Germany?
This is in Hanover, Germany. They were just throwing.
We can't pronounce anything that's not American on the show.
Nope.
Sorry, guys.
We don't know what you're talking about.
Call in and correct us. Basically, they found, they being the Hanover police, found 2 skulls in the river, both chalked up to quote-unquote probably mischief pranksters.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
This is in, you probably the mid-1920s?
I would say, yeah. Let's call it, yeah. It looks like about 1918 was the first time that Fritz was actually incarcerated for... during this time period, before obviously he had done small stints for his petty crimes and then also his indecency.
But mischief for 2 skulls in a river? That remind me never to travel back in time to April Fool's Day in Hanover, Germany.
We're like,
It was hilarious. He crushed his skull to an almost recognizable dust. It was such a gag.
Germany before World War II was a different place.
Germans any time, really. I mean, honestly, it's something's going on over there. Anyway, so there was some weird stuff going on actually with Fritz Haarmann. He actually, during his time as a petty criminal warehouse thief, he was an informant for the police.
Really?
And was quoted as introducing himself to different people as Detective Haarmann, even though he had never actually joined the police force. He took this kind of informant role very far. And one of the things that was really creepy that he started to do, and that eventually led to him being caught, was he visited the parents of one of his victims
really?
to interview them essentially as Detective Haarmann.
Dude, that is just a pure power,
It's a common thread in serial killers.
Yeah,
there's a common thread that they love to be around their victims. That when BTK, I think we talked about this before, that BTK was installing security systems for people that were buying security systems to protect themselves from him.
Right.
Kathy Scott, also friend of the show. Kathy Scott said that one of the power moves for the LA fire department chief Orr was that he would be the first on the scene
to get to the lake.
He needed to see it burn.
And they get to the reactions of the people around and just feel that sounds awful.
Also with the Black Dahlia murder, it was the same thing.
Oh,
he
positioned you told us about that,
in an area that was very just degrading and shocking.
That he knew someone was going to come across it. It wasn't hidden. So yeah, this is a similar theme. This was part of I guess to get you in the mindset of this person. He was pretty much completely insane, completely deranged, right? This is a guy who killed, they found I think the number was over 500 separate bones in the river after they did a search. And they said
over the river, next to his house?
Through the woods.
So what's actually funny is
house.
They went. Initially there was some... After his quote unquote interview with his victim's family, there was some investigation pointed at him. He had another, I believe, indecency charge waged against him. Which again, at this point, we're talking about 6-7 times before the modern arrest of this guy. He had been in and out of police custody for being just a weird diddler around town and stealing stuff.
Yeah.
And at this point, they searched his house and they found multiple different blood stains, which they attributed to him running a quote unquote illegal butcher operation out of his house. And he later laughingly actually told prosecutors that the entire time he had the victim's head, I believe the boy's last name was Kane, wrapped in newspaper behind his stove as the cops were poking around in cupboards and drawers.
They didn't find it?
It was behind a stove on the floor. And sort of that speaks to the further insanity of this guy. He was, during his trial, which only lasted about 2 weeks, they said he was sort of grandiosely puffing on cigars and sort of making jokes about the audience in the room and stuff. This guy had no remorse at all for what he did. And in fact,
who's going to play him in the movie? Because
we got a Fritz.
That's a good role.
We already got a Fritz.
Patton Oswalt.
I like that a lot.
You'll never get me.
Sort of like a weird, charismatic
butt that I ate.
Oh God. So that was
I
honestly
hear rump is very sweet.
depends on the sauce, man. You got to have the right sauce.
Gotta have that butt sauce.
So
it's pronounced Boucher. No, it's actually pronounced Butcher. Boucher, my friend. Oscars 2020.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Cheek meat.
Yeah, basically, they didn't find anything until he came forward and basically dropped the dime on Hans, his lover, and pinned one or two of the murders directly on him.
No, why would he do that? Because
Hans had already
among thieves.
You commit 47 plus murders together. If you drop the dime on your murder partner, you know you're going to go down.
Right. Wait, this is very serious. This is very serious. So, if you committed 47 murders with someone, you would never drop a dime on them.
But I'm saying that.
Second question: what are you doing next weekend?
Right. Yep.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Somebody keep tabs on these motherfuckers.
I'm writing it right now.
So, basically Hans was already incarcerated, and he decided, well, what the hell? He's already in for a penny, in for a pound, and gave him a couple of extra bodies to deal with. But once all the sort of stories got back around, they pinned about 47, I think it was 47, 48 murders on Fritz Haarmann, and found out, and he actually, the most chilling aspect of this story, he willfully admitted that his preferred method of killing his victims was to bite out their throat.
Whoa!
And after disposing of the more, I guess, recognizable parts of the human, the head and things like that, he would chop up the corpses and sell the flesh to local butcher shops as pork. Probably a lot of people in Hanover, Germany, unwittingly ate human flesh. Another interesting part to the story, I'd like not to continue to go on with this horribly macabre shit, but
but if I must,
they sent a butcher shop, actually got hip at one point and was like, what is this? Sent a hunk of the meat into the local constabulary, or the police department there, and they came back and said, oh yeah, it's pork. What the hell's what are you worried about?
Really?
Further adding to the seemingly inexhaustible ineptitude of the Hanover Police Department in the early 19th century.
But here's the thing: is that you have to realize that there was someone from Hanover at that time that went to that butcher shop regularly, that went on vacation and had some pork and said, "You know what? The pork is so much better back home.
So much better back home.
We just can't get the same pork that we get in Hanover. What is it? You know, I mean, and that they're just and once they found out, they're like, oh fuck."
Yeah, there was definitely panic after they realized that there were some initial reports, and this is also kind of chilling. Some initial reports were that they said there were probably close to 500 to 600 missing children in the area in just 1 year.
God.
Jeez, that's insane.
So they could only attribute about 47 of the bodies to Fritz Haarmann, but who knows?
Yeah, they're like, there's 500 bones in this river. DNA tests don't exist yet.
The hell?
Let's call it 47. We'll split the difference if you have 47.
47.
That's insane.
That's okay. That's messed up. All right,
so let's not play this game.
Stop playing the game, please. Angela, stop playing the game.
I've died like 17 times.
You've got the newest highest score. How much money have you wasted on this game, Angela?
She's really getting into it.
Well, I play this a lot.
50 more cents. She's on the Tricerodon. There's a Tricerodon.
Yes.
It's like a Triceratops dressed in like a
Spry
mafioso.
gets it. Come on. All right, I got like one round to go. All right.
I'll pony up just because I want to see how this shit ends.
Okay. Give Angela a few more quarters.
Yeah, give it to me.
Check out the Tricerodon, and then we're just going to chill out somewhere.
He's making you an offer you can't refuse.
Just take the money and rack up that score, even though we know you're going to die, but you're still going to get those points, I guess. So we're going to take a little break. You're listening to Fort Fritz, and we'll be back and just figure out what the fuck is going on.
Greetings and welcome back to Fort Fritz. We are in this conundrum now that we have this arcade game that obviously was made by Felix. It looks duct taped and or the nails hammered in at odd angles.
Insane angles, I would say. This
Really
looks like an insane man's work.
I didn't think you could carpenter a video game, but apparently...
And done poorly, or just, again, insane.
Yeah, it looks like it's an old-fashioned monitor from the 80s. Just kind of
jammed in there,
or glued. It's like miracle glued up to the front of this video game that Angela's very good at.
I'm decent.
Did Felix have any kind of like weird obsession with this game? Was this something that he obviously created, but was this something he tried to foist upon the neighborhood kids, or was this something he was trying to
This thing
get
is like
revenue from?
Weird, man.
Yeah, that's a little bit weird.
Hey kids, who wants to play Fritz the Butcher?
I'm just trying to...
He definitely did a lot of tinkering with this machine. I'll say that.
Tinkering, okay.
Tinkering with the machine. Tinkering with the machine. Not
Tinkering with the machine.
People or children.
Not tinkering with children.
Okay,
good.
At least we cleared that up.
I'm looking in the back here, and there's like a fairly caustic kind of smoke just sort of pouring out.
Did you open up the back end of it? Oh, good God.
I got a good whiff of that.
I'm a
That
big
is
fan
like
of smoking. That's not one of the ones I like.
Partially run by coal.
Yeah, it looks like a diesel coal generator.
Excuse me, are we talking about clean coal?
Yeah,
Most
no,
amazing,
there's
beautiful, tremendous, clean
There's a fucking
coal.
furnace back here. This thing burns coal.
This doesn't smell clean at all.
Dude, I got way too, I feel
Maybe the
faint.
ventilation wasn't worked out very well.
I got way too much coal lung right now. I feel faint. I gotta lay down.
You got black
You got the black
All right,
lung.
let's find a couch.
I gotta lay down.
Cassie
lay
Man
down?
needs to have a little downtime right now.
We gotta find a couch.
There's
You
a
guys
chill
need to
out
carry
room
me.
near here, right? Angela, is there like a chill out room or something we can hit?
Yeah, over here to the left.
Oh, shocker. All right, and fucking son of a bitch, there it is. Look at all those couches and hookah pipes. All right,
perfect.
Let's get this guy a couch. Let's get this guy laying down.
God.
Let's all get our own. Everybody, there's enough. Everybody get their own couch.
Nick, get over here.
everybody
You
get a couch.
haven't laid down on the couch yet.
All right, well, let me,
I got my feet up over here. Come lay down.
It's kind of comfy. There's some room on this one. Wriggle into it.
I'm good, guys.
Come on, Nick Spry. Lay down next to me. Come on.
I'm good.
Whoa.
Okay, there's
something wrong.
Yeah, that's weird.
Okay.
Are you getting a bad vibe?
Everybody stop for a second. Kaz,
Yeah, what's up, baby?
don't move.
What?
Can't help
Look
it.
at his beard.
Why?
Look at his beard.
Oh.
Yeah, what's happening?
God.
There's something moving.
What's happening? What's
There's
happening?
something moving in his
Don't move.
beard.
Get it off me.
Don't move.
No,
Don't
no,
move.
no, no,
Get it
no,
off
I'm not
me.
touching that shit.
Stop moving.
No, just stop moving, and maybe it'll stop moving.
Stop moving.
I can actually feel some shit in my beard.
Oh, it's
Don't
totally
do it,
moving.
don't do
It's
it.
totally
Put your hand down.
There's multiple, there's multiple bogeys.
His hands are floating next to his beard. He's trying to...
What is happening?
Manheading, just give him a good slap in the face.
Oh, I've been
Knock that
waiting for
shit
this
off.
all day. And what? And one for good luck. And oh, there you go. How's
All
that
right,
feel?
that's enough. Stop. Okay,
You always
stop.
do
That's
that.
enough.
Woo. That's
No,
all
they're
good.
scurrying. Oh my God, there's bugs on your beard. What the hell?
No. All right, no, seriously, get this shit off.
Jesus. I'm just gonna get a fire extinguisher. I don't care. I'm sorry. Hold
Spray
your
me
breath.
down.
I'm just gonna spray you down with this fire extinguisher.
Is that really going to help?
This is painful.
It sucks all the oxygen out.
It's sucking oxygen
Hasn't been inspected in years.
I don't like that
My
at all.
eyes are watering. My butt hurts.
I think it was thick enough that maybe it killed him, though.
Nick, Brad, what was the purpose of all that? That was
You bastards put me on an infested couch.
I didn't know it was infested.
I did.
See?
Man, Daddy.
Son of a...
You're not helping things.
No, those look like they were ticks.
Oh,
Nick
fuck.
Spry, tell me about what you know about ticks,
You gotta be
please.
careful with ticks.
I don't know anything about ticks. Are they bigger than fleas?
No, well, some of them are. There are many different species, but some of them are larger and some are almost microscopic that you would need like a scope to look at them with. But guys, this is kind of making me a little bit more unsettled. Have you ever heard about Plum Island?
No, it sounds delicious.
Is it like
I
a
love
place where ticks
plums.
live?
It's not a place where like plums grow. It's a lot less delicious than that. So there's been a lot of really big conspiracy theories concerning the Plum Island. It's to give you a little perspective on where it's at. It lies about 2 miles from Long Island, 10 miles from the coast of Connecticut, and about 85 miles from Manhattan.
That means nothing to me.
It's like a northeasterny kind of craggy island, I imagine.
So a government-owned island near Long Island. I like
That's
that
cool.
idea.
10 Mile Island.
Well, originally it was a fort that dates back to
Fort Island.
the Spanish-American War, so late 19th century, early 20th century. It was actually a fort that had a lot of cannons. It was there was turrets installed there. It was kind of like the first defense to keep people from attacking the island of Manhattan.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Later on, after years and years after World War II, there was a government lab set up there that was basically established by two men. William Hagen, who was a former dean of the Cornell University's veterinary school. Well, but he was also
Haagen-Dazs. Get it?
I just got that. That was fucking funny.
Singers.
Comedy hand grenade.
So William Hagen, he was a veterinarian, and he used to be the dean of the veterinary school at Cornell University. He was also the man that first developed weaponized anthrax, known as Strain 99.
How can we ever thank him? Hey, here's the thing that's killing sheep. Can we make this kill people in a weaponized fashion?
And the other man behind Plum Island in its inception was Erich Traub, who was...
This sounds fucking evil.
A Nazi scientist.
There it is! Alex Traub!
Always comes back
who
to
got Project Paperclipped by the U.S. government.
Okay.
Yes. So Traub had actually had a facility that was very similar to what Plum Island was during World War II. He worked directly under Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS, on what was known as Rheims Island in the Baltic Sea near Germany. And he was also of the veterinary school. He was an expert in hoof and mouth disease or foot and mouth disease, which basically affects cattle predominantly, but it can spread to humans. But if spread, it can decimate the food supply of an entire nation very, very quickly. It's an extremely contagious disease. So he was doing research on hoof and mouth disease for the Nazis.
Wow.
And he was
When
actually...
was this like in the late 30s?
This was during World War II, yes. And
So from 36 to 45?
until the war was over, he was employed by the Nazis, by the SS.
No shit.
And then in 1948, the British government scooped him up. There's actually interview footage with some ex-Soviet generals who said that he was a prime suspect for them to scoop up and use for intelligence. They wanted him badly, but the British got to him first. And then, as part of Project Paperclip, he was brought to the Americas in 1949 and started working with the CIA, the Army, the Navy, and eventually the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Again, his expertise was in these fields of foot and mouth disease, but the idea was to create a biochemical weapon or a bioweapon that would destroy a nation's food supply, as opposed to having to employ something like an atomic weapon where you would decimate the infrastructure of a city. If you just eliminate their food supply and kill the population...
You get all their buildings and roads and everything.
That's correct.
So it's kind of like if you were to exterminate the North American wild bee, which pretty much pollinates everything, you could destroy an entire civilization's food supply.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
Or at least 85% of what's made from bees.
If you're terrified and you know it now, clap your hands.
Angela was the only one who didn't clap her hands.
That doesn't scare me, like, at all.
Well, that scares
fucking
pretty much all of everyone else on the planet.
Well, you all should be more resourceful.
I'm trying my hardest, okay?
By y'all, you mean humans, right?
Yes.
Hey!
Thank God. I'm off the hook.
But most of the work, again, was to study animal diseases and bacteria and viruses that could affect the food supply of a population.
Under the pretense of defending us against them.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. So the U.S. government was purporting that they were trying to defend our nation's food supply, and that the more that we could learn about these viruses and bacteria, the more that we could defend ourselves from outside enemies during the Cold War.
That's some shady shit, though.
But while you're doing that, you have to be breeding these viruses, breeding these bacteria, and of course you're learning how other people, or how one in quotes, might weaponize them in order to prepare a proper defense. So at the same time, they are doing weaponized biochemical research.
And if someone looks at a disease and goes, man, this is horrible. How can we make this even worse for people I hate?
Right.
You know, I mean, this like will kill like about this many people, but let's have it kill all the people in an area.
It's just
can we work on that?
It's a tale as old as time, right? It's like fucking biblical. They've been doing that for forever, literally.
Why don't we work on curing diseases instead of weaponizing
Because
them?
it's so much easier to take your shit than to be nice to you and like
also more
participate in your
profitable.
society.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
War is money.
War is money.
So these methods were basically researched and employed throughout all of the Cold War. The U.S. government denied it for decades, but eventually in 1993, a local paper called Newsday, which is sort of for the Suffolk County area of New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, discovered these documents, these unclassified documents, purporting that they were doing research to battle the Russians during the Cold War by researching bioweapons.
Well, luckily, the Russians don't have anything to do with America currently.
Well,
Thank you.
the U.S. government has denied that any of these stories are true.
Shocker.
And dismissed them as fairy tales, things like that. But no one has also concretely disproven these theories. There are rumors that during Castro's reign between the 60s and 70s, there was a outbreak of African swine fever, and it decimated their food supply. And he thought that he accused the American government of employing this method. And the only where in the Western Hemisphere for this specific virus to exist was at Plum Island.
African swine flu?
Yes.
So that's the only other place that,
in the entire Western Hemisphere where this was known. It's not indigenous. There had been no recorded cases. And then all of a sudden it breaks out, and probably the U.S.'s biggest enemy during the 60s, right after Bay of Pigs and all of the nuclear standoff.
Bay of Pigs! Swine flu. So they weren't just being dicks. They're like trying to even put a dig in there. You think you got Bay of Pigs? We got swine flu for your ass.
During that time, pigs were the predominant protein that was farmed in Cuba.
Wait. Was it pigs or was it kids?
I can neither confirm nor deny the behavior of one Fidel Castro.
Did they have any research around ticks or any of this weird shit that was all over me? Can we identify what these are?
Yes, perhaps.
Make it all about you, Kaz. Make it all about you.
I'm currently crawling with fucking whatever the hell.
That's new for you.
He is scratching the hell out of his ass. Look at that.
Oddly enough,
Don't worry, Kaz. I'm just going to light their butts while they're trying to bite you.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
She's got flame.
Eric Traub, a lot of his work was with ticks.
Oh no! Is that what these are?
Well, one of the things that a lot of the workers who have gone off the record, they did not want their identities be disclosed, have said that they have done work with ticks for decades at Plum Island. Basically, how to put a virus or bacteria into a tick and then deploy it from airplanes even onto a enemy's territory in order to get at their food supply.
So this is kind of like Agent Orange, but they've
with ticks.
come up with a way
Agent Orange was a exfoliant that just destroyed, that through fire killed defoliant. Thank you. Sorry, that just was fire that stuck to you. This is something way more surreptitious, that they can drop this and then your population starts dropping and there's no fire, there's no destruction. You get to come back in if you have the antidote, and you get all the buildings, you get all the roads. If you use something like Agent Orange, you're killing all that. If you use something in napalm, you're using sticky fire. This is so much more insidious.
This is still another vector, though, to introduce another pathogen.
So, one of the most nefarious theories about Plum Island is that Lyme disease was created and not exported, but it got loose from Plum Island.
What? So Lyme disease wasn't a thing?
Lyme disease was discovered in 1975.
What?
Really?
And Old Lyme, Connecticut, which is where? 9 miles away from Plum Island. It basically meets the mouth of the Connecticut River, which is only 9 miles away. And back then, the animals that they would test on were kept outdoors. And I must say that the security at this place was impeccably shoddy. There had been in 1978. There was an outbreak of hoof and mouth disease that spread across the island with no source. They had no idea where it came from. They had to burn over 200 animals. They had to send people home. They had to quarantine the entire island. But going back to 1975, when Lyme disease was first discovered, all these people started getting these weird arthritic pains. No one could diagnose this. Lyme disease is extremely hard to diagnose. But here's the thing, is that the building that they had been in since the late 40s, early 50s, was basically falling apart. There was accounts of 3/4-inch holes in the roof. It was just falling apart. It was built on the foundations of a fort from almost 60, 70 years earlier. And pathogens transmitted by ticks, some of which can be smaller than something you couldn't even see without a microscope, could easily fit through holes like this. Right. And it is it is over one of the largest migratory paths of birds in the United States.
Oh, perfect. What could go wrong?
So all it would take is for one tick to get loose, a bird to scoop it up and drop it off 9 miles away across its migratory path.
Was it something also that this pathogen or organism could evolve into different hosts so that the tick could take it on, the bird could take it on?
A lot of people think that Lyme disease originates with deers and that it's predominantly carried by the deer tick, but it is also rodents are a great vector.
So
and the ticks will pick it up.
Different organisms.
And again, this is an old building, so there are a ton of rodents running around. There's a ton of ticks.
When did the project end?
Pardon?
When did the project end versus the finding of Lyme disease?
Well, the facility still exists today, but it is under the direction of the Homeland Security Department.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
That's very true. Yeah, that's exactly
what could go wrong once again.
Officially, the bioweapon research program was ended under Nixon in 1969.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But there are people that used to work there that purport that they went on well into the 90s with this research. There have also been accusations of Plum Island being responsible for outbreaks of the West Nile virus.
I can see that. Zika.
And of the... I'm going to slaughter this one. What is this?
Avian flu.
The Dutch duck. The Dutch
duck?
What is this called?
Sounds like a sick dance.
As far as you want to go down to the Dutch duck.
No, I'm right.
It's when you duck
the Dutch duck.
Your penis into your vagina.
That's the Dutch duck.
That's the Dutch duck.
I didn't know.
Yeah, the West Nile virus, there was an outbreak in 1999, and the Dutch duck plague of 1967.
Affected humans or just ducks?
Well, I'll leave So this is another topic that is of great controversy about this facility. It is considered a level 3 contamination unit, or they need level 3 protection for these viruses, which means basically they are studying only viruses that can affect animals, and a level 4 would be something that can be transmitted to humans.
What is that called?
Zootic.
Zootic?
It's zootic when it can be transferred between animals and humans.
Terrifying.
But they have, because a lot of these diseases start in animals, been studying level 4 viruses and bacteria for years, for decades.
In this old
dilapidated, rundown place
thing.
That is just
Sweet.
has no sort. It even has no sort of security system up until recently, up until after 9/11. It did not have guards. Under the army, it had posted guards and everything like this. But when the program shut down, then it was unguarded. They had security cameras. They had unarmed guards. They had 2 docks. A truck once was stolen from there.
What are the guards going to do?
No one had any idea what was on the back of it.
How are the guards going to stop a tick?
Once a box of pathogens was dropped
off a boat
into the ocean.
It's dropped into the ocean?
Yes.
Wow.
What is a box of pathogens? Contained in what?
And this facility, like I said, studies high-level, highly contagious, highly deadly diseases, such as the Rift Valley virus, such as...
Pac-Man fever.
Such as Pac-Man fever. Such as anthrax. It has all of these very, very...
Such as Slayer in Early Testament.
I think I need to go to the hospital.
No, here's what I think. I think we know what we need to do.
Have you really gotten
We need to hose down Kaz. Kaz needs to take a Silkwood shower right now. We need to. We need to hose him down with the most high-powered.
We need to give him medical attention.
Yeah, we need to steam him up.
Kaz, you all right?
He doesn't look so good. Guys, he really doesn't look so good.
He didn't look good before, but now he looks way worse.
My joints are locking up. I feel sort of vaguely citrusy.
You smell almonds.
You look vaguely citrusy.
Yes!
What?
Finally won!
Oh, it's making noises over there.
Stegosaurus motherfucking meatballs! Ha ha! Got it!
Stegosaurus motherfucking meatball was the last boss.
I'm going to bed. Good night.
What about Kaz? What are we supposed to do about Kaz? He's over here dying and shit.
This library is now opening up and
he's dying so hard he's laughing.
She's just going through fields of fire.
Library is closed.
She got Ingwe Malmsteen.
She beat Ingwe Malmsteen?
She beat him.
Kaz. On the first level? Okay, that's messed
Kaz,
up.
look at me. Kaz.
You okay there, buddy?
Where am I?
Let's roll him over on the side.
Let's pour some gravy water on him. Let's just cover him in the gravy water.
Don't worry, gravy water.
No, we know it's good for you, guys.
I can't take it. I'm tripping too hard.
You run and you get the local constable right now. You get him back
I
here.
will run to the constable.
You
What
get
did he
him
say
right now.
earlier?
Constabulary.
There we go. Get him right here. Away! Kaz,
we don't have time.
You don't have to correct him, okay?
We should set him on fire.
Ease up.
We should set him on fire to kill all the ticks. That's the only way.
That's fine.
Why is he always trying to do?
I wish Angela was here. She would tell us.
Yeah, she's going to go to the fire, but she beat the game and she's out of here. So I guess I'm going to take this. So all right, so we got Kaz laying down. We're about to set Kaz on fire.
Yep.
We got Nick going off to get the complicit beneficiary.
Guys, is it going to be better? I am super tired.
No, you just keep running and find the constitutary.
I'm also tired. I'm extremely tired and achy.
Daenerys to Tigerian. And you go get that. And me and Fritz, we're just going to get... you thirsty?
Yeah, sure.
I could really use a beer. Okay, so we're going to get a beer.
Sure.
You just lay here, Kaz, and soon we're going to set you on fire, and the constabulary Daenerys Targaryen is going to come and help you out. Angela is just, I guess, taking a nap.
I won!
Oh, man, she is really happy about that high score. That's really crazy. Me and Fritzy have some work to do. Nick is going to go with the constabulary.
Guys, I just decided to call 911.
All right, you go to do that. Hey, how you doing over there, Kaz?
Can I get some?
Anyway, that's great. So everything's good here. Me and Fritz are going to have a good time. We're going to talk to you next time. You're listening to Fort Fritz.
I think Kaz is dead.